Yes, I was a 22-year-old professional dancer. I was extremely successful very fast. For the year and a half before that, I had been a working professional dancer all over the world. And I met him through a roommate who had started working for Jeffrey for about 6 months before I met him, before she introduced me to him. And I had two encounters with him, one at his office on Madison Avenue, and then I was invited to a follow-up interview at a penthouse he was living in, and that is when he raped me at 22. I like to remind people that he also abused adult women, young adult women that looked like teens, in addition to teens.
After the rape, what did you do? How did you handle it?
Yeah, thank you for asking. That is the juxtaposition I like to remind people about, that before I met Jeffrey Epstein, I was successful and happy and thriving in my career and in my relationships. And after I was raped, I cowered. I struggled. I struggled to be confident. I was so scared of living in New York. Within 3 months, I moved out because of the anxiety and the insomnia. Within 6 months, I could pull a pair of size 0 jeans down off of my hips because I was really struggling to even eat properly. And I talked to a friend who knew me then, and she said, you know, the biggest thing she remembers about me at that time was that I just slept all the time. And that is a very typical response to trauma.
We're seeing all these images of Jeffrey Epstein now coming out in the Epstein files. So many pictures of him surrounded by the rich and famous and powerful. What kind of man was he when you met him?
The first time that I met him in his office, at Madison Avenue office that I was just telling you about, I knew from my roommate that he was this wealthy man, but when you walked into his office, it was very stark. He was very stoic, very professional, and set himself up to be an authority in our interview, asking me, as a professional dancer, we know a lot about the body, right? Well, he's asking me all these questions about the body that I didn't know, and led me to believe I was not going to get this job as a masseuse that he would train me for. So he gave me a book to study, and so he seemed very professional and very serious about someone being well-trained. And so I believed my friend who had this fabulous experience with him for 6 months, who raved about him, who respected him. And when I went to the follow-up interview and to do a trial massage, he initially came off as very professional. As far as the other men that he was around with, I didn't meet anyone else, but what I will say from what I know is that the volume of willful blindness and blatant disregard for the protection of the young women and the children that were very, very obviously around Jeffrey Epstein and all of these men is horrific.
I just want to remind viewers of the date that you've given, 1991. That's when you were raped by Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, that's, 35 years ago. It seems like an incredibly long stretch of time, and we're still talking about the case, and we still haven't seen all the files released. They were meant to all have been released, but they haven't. Just wondering what your reaction was, I guess both the latest release of files, but just in general, a lot of the things that have been coming out, the pictures, what do you look for?
I've been looking for my own statement that I made to the FBI. I know a lot of us want to hear the FBI tip line recordings because it proves the volume of victims that did come forward that maybe got disregarded. I initially got disregarded. The FBI assigned a NYPD sex trafficking task force officer to reach back out. And when I told him the date that I had been abused, and this was, I want to remind everyone, in 2019, when Jeffrey Epstein was arrested, and even after he died, the FBI had out a tip line, And many of us called that tip line. When I called, and when they called back in 2019, the officer said to me, well, we have to call everyone back, but it was 30 years ago. What do you expect us to do about it now?
Right. You said that you've been looking for references to that in the files. I'm assuming that you didn't find anything. How does that make you feel?
Well, it's not even just that I didn't find anything. It's that the search option on the website it's not easy to find anything. It's very simplistic. You can't put in a date. You can't put my name in because victims are redacted. And so I've tried to search through the detective's name that first made that comment to me, and then the FBI agent who then officially took my statement, and I have not been able to find anything. And so it's extremely frustrating because we don't know how to easily search this database.
Can you just explain to us, why does it mean so much to you to see your experience, that interview in black and white, in those files that are then released to the public?
I think I have a little bit of a unique experience to why I want to see it. I actually am concerned that even though it was an official statement, I was told legally, this FBI agent said, I have to let you know legally that your statement is going to be used in the prosecution's case against Ghislaine Maxwell. And then I never heard a word. I was not entered into the victim notification system. I reached out just before the trial to ask the agent whether my statement was being included, and I never heard a word. So to me, the lack of statement proves the negligence we've been saying all along.
Jeffrey Epstein died in 2019. In light of that, what does justice look like to you now?
That's a great question. So obviously, accountability and transparency are key for the past, but something that's become very important for me and my personal mission, excuse me, is that nothing like this happens again, and that we change something, that we change policies, we change protocols for alerts that came up back in 1996 when Maria Farmer gave her very first complaint, which actually was in the files, Maria's 1996 complaint. So I want to see change for the future. That's important to me for justice.
So, Jess, in light of your experience and everything you've been through, how do you feel about this latest drop of files?
There was a law passed that required the Department of Justice to adhere to, by 11:59 p.m. on December 19th, the U.S. Department of Justice has broken the law blatantly. So sometimes I hear from people or journalists, so how do you feel if they, what comes out next? I actually don't care. I don't, because they've already broken the law and they've proved the point of why we needed to get an act of Congress to actually listen to us and try to get justice. And that didn't even get us justice.
Do you feel betrayed by that?
Definitely. And it's not unexpected. I expected the exact same treatment that we have received across 5 administrations to happen, and they fulfilled that expectation.
I mean, you're hoping to see change based on what you have seen, though, with the release of the files and the way that they're being released. Are you hopeful that we are heading towards that change?
Everyone said we would never be able to get the dispatch petition passed, and we got an act of Congress, except for that one guy in Louisiana that didn't sign on. It was nearly unanimous. The American people care about this. And just because we are getting the exact same lack of transparency and accountability that we've all experienced for the last 30 years, it doesn't mean that we're not hopeful that the American people can't move mountains and create change.